Okay, we're live.
All righty, here we go. Sorry, we're experiencing some technical difficulties here today in Jasper. We're trying to get a few things that may take us about 1 to 2 minutes to catch up and see your comments. We had a great response last week, Dale. We've got a ton of questions. Probably won't be able to get them all answered today, but I think we can here in just a little while and get a couple of these answered. And while we're getting everything lined up, Dale, if you'll give us an introduction.
Hello, my name is Dr. Dale Hubbard. I'm owner and trainer at Perfection Bird Dog Training, and this will be our second live session on training your bird dog through positive gun dog methods. So any questions that any of you have, please feel free to ask them. Last week we had a wonderful response of great questions, and so today we'll continue with the same protocol. Jeremiah?
Yeah, we're having a great day here in Jasper, Alabama. We've got to get out in the field a little bit this morning. Had a good off day and worked with some dogs this morning. But what we're going to talk about today is we're just going to give the cigar box a shout out today. And we're going to kind of give a shout out here. This is what the charity that the Perfection Gun Dog is going to give to here. This is called Cigars for Warriors. They're collecting cigars here at the cigar box in Jasper, Alabama. But also, please find your local cigar shop and donate to Cigars for Warriors. I know when I was over there, Dale, a cigar sometimes went a long way when there's not a lot going on. You're in the middle of nowhere and it's sandy and hot. But that's a great cause, and that's what we're going to choose to do here since the cigar box is letting us use their place here. Okay, we do have the dogs of the poker in the background, and everybody's starting to log on now. So we're going to adjust the screen, Dale. Here we may have to get a little closer, but we have some new technology coming real soon that we're excited about. Dale, we like I said, we're going to try to touch base on a couple of questions here in a little bit. We had a lot of questions, Dale. We had some novice folks that just, hey, they've never quail hunted before, and they want to know how to get started. So Dale, if you don't mind, you don't have to have all the gear. We're going to show you some of the gear that we got on. But you don't have to be a novice or even have a gun or equipment. A lot of times you can go to these plantations and get that. And Dale, we just want to kind of be real with y'all. We're just real folks, and Dale's a Ph.D. and I'm a veterinarian, but you always got to get started somewhere. And Dale, how did you get introduced to bird hunting and bird dogs?
Oh man, I tell you what, that goes back 60-something years, Jeremiah. We was raised on a farm, and we had all kinds of animals, and one of our favorite pastimes was hunting all different types of animals. But one of the primary joys was bird hunting, and primarily quail hunting. And Lord knows this was back in the 60s and 70s, and when we had wild birds here in Alabama, and of course in the last number of years, as we know, that has been a diminishing factor, and we've had to go to using pen-raised birds. Not the same thing, but close. And while there's still a few wild birds, and I even have a few wild bird cubbies at my facility, but nevertheless, if you want to do wild bird hunting, you have to go to Georgia or Tennessee, Missouri, South Dakota, different places to experience the wild birds. But however, here, use the pen-raised birds. But going back to your original question, yes, that was a wonderful pastime, a love that we had. We had all different types of hunting dogs, and so as years went on, I continued to hunt and started training when young, and then in my doctoral program in behavioral sciences, I learned a lot about learning theory. I actually specialized in it. how all living things learn, and that's when I began really applying those types of principles to training bird dogs through positive gun dog methods. And so now, when I mostly hunt, it's through hunting pen-raised birds, and then a couple of times a year I have the opportunity to go out Midwest or up north and hunt wild birds.
Well, that's a good introduction, Dale. I always like hearing my dad's stories and family members and guys that's kind of in your generation, how they used to just kind of come home from school and grab the bird dog and go outside, and that could, history repeats itself, and that's what we're excited about. I know that the state of Alabama and Auburn University, they're doing a lot of things to bring wild quail back, and that's some of the things we'll touch on later on also. But Dale, unfortunately during my time frame of, I grew up outdoors with my dad, and we all mostly deer hunted, because in my time frame, and when you were a kid, there was no deer here, and there was quail everywhere, and during my generation, it's kind of flipped. But what was exciting to me, how I got introduced to this, was had a friend while I was in veterinary school had a question about his dog one day, and his name's David McAllister there in Auburn. I hope he's maybe tuning in today, or if he will later. I actually ended up getting my first bird dog from him, Hank the Tank, and David actually introduced me to kind of just working behind dogs, and I could use a shotgun, and a lot of times I missed, and that's not the thing I learned about this, is just kind of watching the dogs work, even if you don't get a bird, Dale. It's I think it's really neat, and what I'm excited about is starting to introduce this to my kids, and we've had some folks from your generation, Dale, and mine. Your generation, so those guys just want to kind of get back in it, kind of like when they was a kid. In my generation, we didn't have bird dogs, so they want to learn. And that's what we want to appeal to. If you don't even have a shotgun or equipment, we'll kind of go over some equipment. But, I think I really want to reiterate, you don't have to know anything about bird dogs. Dale's trained with some folks that don't even like to shoot a shotgun. They just like working the dogs. And that's what's cool about this outdoor sport. But we're just going to kind of go through that. And like I said, if you want to get introduced to quail hunting, we've had some questions about that. How do I get started? Dale, in my opinion, I highly encourage them. You can get with us. We can find somewhere hopefully close to you, work with them, or if we've had some experience at some lodges and some places, and just go out there, and they'll show you kind of what to wear, and we'll go over that a little bit. But you don't even have to have a shotgun in a lot of those places. They'll supply the shotgun and the dogs. It's a great way to introduce yourself to this, and tell the dog handlers, like, hey, I've never been quail hunting before, and they'll go with that. And it's a great one to take your kids. They don't even have to have a gun. They can stand behind you and watch the dog work. It's really great I had the experience about a year and a half ago to take a young kid hunting, and over my dog Hank, and just watching the kid's face light up when the dog points, it's kind of magical. It's like that day of Christmas, when you wake up and Santa Claus is there,
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. So we just want to kind of talk about that. If you've never hunted before or want to get with a local plantation, call us. We'll kind of get you hooked up with the right people or in your area. We've got a lot of folks right here in the Alabama area we can get you hooked up with, but if you're not here local, we can do that too. Dale, I just want to kind of, we've got some of our training gear on and hunting gear. I don't have my complete orange hat on, but when you're quail hunting, it's kind of like you want to have a lot of orange, right, Dale? Because there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of shotguns sometimes and that. And in my opinion, I don't know if you can see these pants or not, but these are what I call Briar Pants. They're worth their weight in gold. If you don't want to buy them, you can get some chaps and stuff. It's not unnecessary, but when you're out there following those dogs, they point in some of the funnest places, and it seems like there's briars there. So, a bright orange shirt, bright orange hat. I got the cigar box hat on today. It's not completely orange, but it does have some. But when I'm out there, I have a big round orange hat on. Especially if you're working your dog, there's a lot of moving pieces. But Dale, what's kind of your opinion on some of the basics gear? So, hey, it's the first time you're going out there. What do you want to have to make it comfortable and make it an enjoyable experience?
Well, Jeremiah, is so important to get with someone who is experienced at bird hunting. As you mentioned, that when the dogs are hunting, it's exciting. They go on point, and when the birds are flushed, ready to shoot, Lord knows you don't know which way the birds are going to go, and so it's important to, like you said, have the orange on so that you won't get loaded up with bird shot yourself, so usually if you limit the amount of people that you're taking bird hunting with you, I usually limit it to 2, 3 at the most, and so when the dogs go on point, I usually have a person to the left and right, and direct the person. If the bird goes your way, then you shoot. The other person doesn't shoot. If they go straight ahead, then maybe both parties have a chance to shoot. But so everybody has some direction about which way the shot is going, and so that the only thing to get shot is the bird, and not the people. And in my respect, particularly the bird dogs. And when I do guided hunts, I do a little introduction about the safety aspects of it, and above all, don't shoot my bird dog. That's just a big no-no. So I in particularly enjoy hunting behind bird dogs to steady the wing and shot and follow the bird and retrieve the hand on command. That's the way I train, and that's the way my English setters are. So that when the dog goes on point, they stay on point, steady. You flush. We have one person that flushes the bird, and the dog stays steady. So then there's not a chance of the dog getting shot. And then, of course, you've already given direction to your shooters, so that depending on which way the bird goes, then the bird is shot. If it's missed, well, then the dogs continue to stay steady. And if the bird is hit, then you can send my particular English setters, I can send every which one I want to retrieve the bird. If you shoot multiple birds, I send all of them out to get them on command. So there's safety involved, not only for the people, but also for the dogs, and everybody has a good time. It's for a lot of the people that go, it says, oh man, how many birds can I hit? How many birds can I hit? Well, for me in particular, I've shot so many birds that my particular joy is not necessarily shooting the bird, but watching the bird dogs hunt.
Absolutely.
And I watch a good bird dog hunt. Oh, that makes my day. And ones that's really under your control, and ones that you have out there hunting that you're people don't feel like you're plowing a field with a mule. You're hollering and screaming and so forth. So if you have a good polished, finished bird dog, operates through very minimal voice commands, so whistles and hand signals, then if you have all those combinations together, then you have a fun trip, you have a safe trip, nobody gets hurt. Hopefully birds are shot, and you get to see wonderful bird dogs hunt. And if you own the dog, then you go home with bragging rights.
Dale, that's a great point. I want to reiterate a few things there. You know, when we're actually going to have some amazing videos on this. So if you've never, kind of been out there, we're going to have some safety videos. Like, hey, how do you go there? What should you ask your guide when you first go out? Hey, a lot of dogs are not to wing and shot. They'll chase the bird as you're shooting. So that's kind of important to know. Ask your guide, and they'll really take care of you. It's a really fun relationship there. And there's a lot of places out there, Dale, once you go to these and you say, hey, I'm going to get my bird dog and I'm going to train it. There's a lot of plantations where you don't have to have a guide, and some of them encourage you not to. They want you to bring your own dog, and they'll get you and show you kind of where the birds are and get those set out for you. That's that's where we want you guys to be at. So you can take, especially one of your kids out, your spouse, or a family member, dad, whoever's not been out. quail hunt. That's what we want. We want to bring back the sport of it, and we want you to have your dog pointing where you're working the dog, and everybody else is shooting, or you can shoot also. You know, and you'll learn if you've not been out there. A lot of times, like you said, Dale, it's not the bird; it's just watching that dog work and the excitement and just how the dogs love it, and that's what they're bred for. You know, leading into that, Dale. We like to keep this basic, and that's going to be, you know, designed behind our videos and in the book. We want to keep this where you can do it, okay? Dale's got, you know, years and years of experience, and I've got, you know, 9 to 10. So, you know, combined here, you know, 60, 70 years of experience of bird hunting, and, you know, I can, you know, talk to you a little bit about the medical aspect of the dogs. But we want to keep it on a basic level, okay? So, you know, you're working all week. You know, we want 5-10 minutes a day or less. You know, that's what we want. We want to make this real, Dale. You know, and like I said, we want to make it comfortable for you when you first go out hunting for the first time. So just to know that we're going to, a lot of our videos are going to be on that, and we're going to have some short videos on that. Dale, I guess, you know, one of the biggest questions we got, you know, we talked about last time, can a bird dog be a bird dog and a house dog? And we really truly think that's, in our case, that they can be both. And we found it, in my experience, and Dale talked about it last week, that's a great way to actually have a great dog, is having both. So Dale, let's just talk about a little bit, you know, we've talked about picking out a dog, and there's different dogs, different things, but and we'll have some videos on that also, and there'll be some in the book. But what happens when you first bring a bird dog home? You want to keep it inside, maybe have a pen outside. Well, what do you do? I mean, Dale, what's the first steps, day one? What do you do?
Well, I always like to have a pre-planning aspect with people that come to me and ask me, well, you know, what do I do? And some of the time I have the luxury of working with the people and helping them to pre-plan what to do when they bring that puppy home. And the majority of the people, I'd say 99% of the people that I train their dogs, they will come to me and talk about, well, what kind of dog do I want? And we discuss that, and you know, what type of hunting they're going to be doing, and then set up the situation to when they actually bring the puppy home. So the training actually needs to start occurring from the time that they pick that puppy up and bring them home. Most of the people that work with, they have their dogs, as once again, as you talked about, as family dogs. So naturally, then you know, you certainly want them to be house trained, and so we talk about how to house train your dog so that it understands the outside is to use the bathroom, and inside is for living purposes and being part of the family. I have a very detailed video on YouTube, and introduction to your puppy into the family. And there's no reason by using what I use as crate training that you can make that occur, and sometimes as few as 2 or 3 days, or maybe a week or two. Just depends on how diligent and how the people, owners, follow the outlines of helping the dog fit within the family. And of course, using behavior modification techniques of going back to that very basic principle we talked about last time. Well, you reward the behaviors that you want to see occur again. And so by following just that very, very basic rule, you can have the dog fit within the family just within actually a matter of days. And so once again, if you go to the video, or if you want to call me or Jeremiah, can talk about the specific details to go through and helping the dog to adjust to the family.
Dale, I want to kind of reiterate Thanks for that information. And I talk about this a lot in the exam room in my vet clinic about crate training. I get the question, is it cruel? You know, there's certain size crates that are designed for certain size dogs. I don't have a crate with me, but we'll bring in some of the videos. I like the collapsible wire crates because, hey, you know, they're at home. You know, if you need to go on vacation or if the dog goes with you somewhere, you're going to mother-in-law's house, you can take the dog with you, okay? Or not actually take the crate with you, and we'll kind of go through some crates and crate sizes in the future. We'll have, like I said, some short introductory videos on that. Just kind of a little bit about the crate training. No, it's not cruel. Is it difficult at first? Absolutely. There's going to be some whining and stuff like that, but you know, like once again, we're going to have some stuff that kind of get you through that. What it does is, you know, if you just leave this puppy out, especially if you got a 6 to 9, 12-week-old puppy, you know, what's going to happen, Dale, is they're going to go in your living room or your bedroom. They're going to poop in your bedroom and pee in there, and they're going to come in the living room and live. They don't have to live with that, okay? But what happens is it actually becomes their den, you know, and for the most part, you know, when I'm at home, I don't want to pee in my living room or where I'm sleeping or sitting. So the dogs learn, like, hey, the house is, like you just said, Dale, the house is a place to live. Outside is a place to go to the bathroom. And, you know, a lot of dogs are giving up or in humane societies and different things because they can't house break. You know, and we want to kind of eliminate that. That's just a minor step that we know you can do as a novice, you know. But also, too, Dale, just kind of on the veterinary side of it, one of the orthopedic surgeons that actually trained me at my veterinary school, he really reiterated and really, he was a very good, a big fan of actually crate training. And you think about these puppies, and if you got these bigger dogs that are growing, their little joints are growing, their little growth plates are going. You know, if you leave them out in the house wherever all day, they're pounding those little joints all the time. So, you know, there has been some, you know, research saying that, you know, crate training actually eliminates some orthopedic problems in the future because it actually lets that puppy actually rest its joints a little bit, you know, and it actually becomes their living room. And I've had cases where, you know, in many different dogs, that people will say, you know, the crate training, you're right about that. You know, like a lot of people came over and, you know, the dog kind of got tired of them. They wouldn't got in the crate and sit down without us even saying anything. It becomes their living room. That's where their recliner is. You know, how you like to come home at the end of the day and flop down your recliner and turn on the TV. You know, dogs, that's their living room, Dale. I mean, if you want to kind of reiterate on that. But
well, some people, like Jeremiah talked about, they consider the crate training cruel, but if you look at it from the standpoint, if we all come into this world with, as we talked about last time, the ability to learn, but then comes the question of how to learn and how to fit within the family, even with your children, or you start a new job, etc. There's a certain structure, directions, protocol by which you show the people, animals, this is how you fit within the family. And so if, for example, with the puppy, when they come home and say you want to help them to feel good about being in the crate, well, feed them in the crate. Through classical conditioning associations, they make a positive association with being in the crate, and they say, oh, well, this is a good place. I got fed in here, and I feel good about that. Now, with the crate training, since they feel good about that, you put them in there, and you want to refine the amount of space within that crate.
Right.
And basically, just enough room to really lay down, sleep. And while that's refined, if you don't do that, then they'll use a larger, another part of the crate is their bathroom. So that'll be their toilet area. And then another part of it will be the living room. And once again, just like you were talking about, they don't want to pee in the bed, you know to go to the bathroom to pee. So they identify that. So by putting them in a very enclosed area, they're highly unlikely that they will pee or poop where they lay. Now, it's also important not to leave them in there for an extended period of time so that they're challenged to hold urine or poop during that period of time. So the way I set it up in the crate training is that you take them out every 2 hours from the crate, unless they're being played with, etc. And then you also keep them on a leash during that period of time, and then that helps to show them, not just to go off and you're not doing something else, and then they decide to pee and poop in the house, and all of a sudden then they get reinforcement for that. So the elimination of the pee or the poop is actually serves as a reinforcement, and if they've done that in the living room or wherever, well, then that becomes their bathroom. So you don't allow that for that to occur. So if you take them out every 2 hours, and that's kind of rough to begin with, but for the first 2 or 3 days, it could be shorter, it could be longer, depends on the puppy. Take them out every 2 hours, so you get them on a structure. And when they go outside and pee and poop, you want to give them a reward. And once again, I use a food-based reward. I just simply give them a reward in their mouth, tell them, good boy, I make an association, let's go pee-pee. And they start identifying that when you say pee-pee, that means go outside and pee. They get a reward for that. You bring them back in, you play with them, put them back in the kennel when you're not playing with them. And say, for example, they want to cry or while they're in the kennel. Well, if you go to them during that period of time, then you have rewarded them for making a sound by being in the crate. Never go to them and while they're crying in the crate. Wait till they're quiet, and then so they understand, oh, if I'm quiet, then you'll come to me and let me out. And so that's how you get quietness in the kennel. I know the puppies that I have trained for that, Lord knows that they become so quiet that sometimes I have to remind myself, oh, you're in the crate, because they have learned that if I'm quiet, I get let out. After a few days have gone by, you will come to understand that they will actually make a different sound when they need to go outside and use the bathroom, as compared to crying or making a noise. Oh, I just want out, or I just want attention. Right. And you'll learn that difference. You'll just learn that difference with having that association with the dog. So, and actually a very short period of time, the crate training becomes very effective, and they learn to go outside and use the bathroom and inside. So once that pattern has established, then you can start backing off that every 2 hours and go to every 4 hours, 6 hours. And it's not uncommon, and you can speak on this too, that actually dogs can hold their urine and poop for extended periods of time. But they have to learn to do that. And
it's just like potty training a kid. But yeah, like I said, I know this probably sounds complicated, but that's one thing that our goal here as a Perfection Gun Dogs is we're going to make this simple. We're going to have some short videos for you, and this will be in the book. We only got, we're about out of time today, Dale. Great questions. Just kind of give you a preview of what's coming up. We probably won't see y'all before Christmas, so have a Merry Christmas. But we're going to kind of go through some basics. I got one thing here today is we have a placement board. One of the training tools that we use. Real simple, 2x4 here if you can see it. A piece of plywood and some carpet, very small. That's going to be essential. Dale, you got any more of the basic? We're going to kind of go over training tools. This is just one we use.
The other one is a clicker system that talked about last time, a little treat bag here that allows you to communicate with the dog that they've performed the correct behavior that you want.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's coming up probably right after Christmas, before the first of the year. We'll hope to have a lot of our training stuff up online for, so you can get this and go from there. But once again, I want to thank the Cigar Box for having us today. And, Cigars for Warriors is a great cause. That's one thing that we're going to be sponsoring through Perfection Gun Dogs, had some great experience with those while I was in Iraq. But until next time, like I say, keep the questions coming. We've answered a lot of them that's come in. We got a lot more to answer. We can get through to you on Facebook, Messenger, and different means. But we're really excited. What's going to come right after the first of the year, Dale? It's going to be really exciting. So, other than that, have a Merry Christmas from Perfection Gun Dogs, and hope Santa's good to you.
Hey, Jeremiah, I just want to go back and say one little thing about that crate training. I don't want to leave some loose ends untied there. It's essential. What I described about the crate training, that's not the entire process. There's a lot of little extra things that go along with that. And if you want to know more about it, please watch my video. Give me a phone call. I'll be happy to discuss any and all aspects of it so that you have a 100% success rate. And there's never been one time to have a failure using the crate training to help them come involved. But anyway, that's backing up just a little bit, Jeremiah. Sorry about that, but I thought that was important to mention. Absolutely. That. But yes, all of you have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We'll pick back up and we'll go back to our weekly sessions. Any particular issues that you want to see addressed regarding positive gun dog training, Jeremiah and myself will be happy to address those either on the presentation, through an email, phone call, and be happy to address those questions in detail so that you will have a very successful outcome in your training.
All right. Until next time, we'll see y'all later. Thank you.